And we are live. Welcome to Four Dudes in a Football. I'm Adam. That's Cyrus with no picture. That's Mike down below that says insert name. And there is Miles. How y'all doing this week?
Good.
Doing good, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
Excited.
It is.
Great.
We missed out on last week. We had some scheduling conflicts. Shit happens. But dude, that was a hell of an opening week in NFL football. I was extremely excited and I was extremely pleased with all the action that took place. It was an exciting week of football, and it continued on, in my opinion, onto the following week. I think we're in for a great season. But then again, we're coming off the 2020 season, and did anything worth a fuck come out of 2020? I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
What a year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Dressed appropriately.
Yes, so we're going right back to this. And the first game of the season was none other than the Dallas Cowboys against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought it was a phenomenal game, however. Dak did not win the game, but he looked better than I think I've ever seen Dak look. And Tom Brady did what Tom Brady does. They gave him a little bit of time at the end of the game. He went down there, got in position to win the game, and who won the game but Ryan Suckup.
Yeah.
Yep. So that fucker left Tennessee, but we didn't keep him. Tennessee's, I think they've had like 14 kickers in the past 6 years or some shit.
I don't even know who it is this week.
It's fat Randy Bullock.
Oh my god!
And he's number 14. That's the number on his jersey. They talked about it at length on this past week when they played Seattle. But anyways, who watched the Dallas Cowboys game and the Buccaneers?
Oh, it's great.
I watched a good portion of it.
Dude, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did anything stick out to you, Mike? Did you notice anything that...
Well, I noticed that there's not a balance with their offense anymore. I don't know if it's part of the game plan. It could have been. I mean, they threw the ball, I want to say like 50 times or something, and they had it like right down to the end. They really could have won that game had they played it just slightly differently at the very last drive. But, they really went away from Ezekiel Elliott. They didn't try to run the ball. And
I want to say in the first half of that game, they only rushed 4 times.
They gave up on it really quickly because, I mean, let's face it, Tampa Bay's got one of the best defensive lines in football right now. They've all got name players. They've got great linebackers behind it. The scheme is good. But, Dallas should have been able to move some of that to get some yards on the ground. Kudos to them for, making the air game work, and they almost pulled it out. We'd be talking about it a little bit differently. But I think it's going to be difficult to figure out who they're going to be down the stretch. I don't think you can just rely on Dak to throw 400 yards a game. But maybe that's just the new NFL we're in. Who knows?
Dak had a hell of a game. I mean, he looked great. That was his first major game because he didn't play anything in the preseason, correct?
I don't think he got any snaps during the preseason. Most starting quarterbacks during this preseason noticeably did not get snaps.
And he even had an injury in the preseason, right? It wasn't something wrong with his
I think something happened during training camp. Yes.
Yeah, something with his shoulder.
I think he had an issue during training camp. And he's had injury history for the better part of the last 2 years with his leg and then his shoulder, as you mentioned. And for him to come off in week 1 and also week 2, may I add, the Cowboys did have I think they beat the Chargers in week 2. Dak Prescott has looked phenomenal in the past 2 weeks.
I agree. Without a doubt. I'm trying to get to the stats right now. I'm sorry. I was trying to see what he did in that first game.
He threw 58 times.
Yeah, he threw 58 times for 403 yards, 3 touchdowns.
48.
What?
48 completions, but threw.
I'm seeing 58.
Completed 42.
Oh, yes, I apologize.
58.
Thanks for that. So, yeah, 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That was a hell of a game, dude. First game back. All right, so now the last week, though, he had a huge drop. And that's probably because they, stuck with the running game more, which they coincidentally won the game. But they were going against the Chargers. And I don't know much about their defense, but their offense is not bad. So, but Dallas's defense is bad. That's why they didn't win that game in the first week, in my opinion.
Well, the Chargers are supposed to have a pretty loaded defense. I mean, Bosa's great. They have some other pieces in there on the secondary. But isn't Bosa hurt?
What's that?
For the Chargers, Bosa.
I couldn't tell you.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think he's playing with some kind of injury.
That'll hinder any defense Los Angeles has. Well, the other Los Angeles has.
Yes. I agree with that.
That Chargers team is severely underwhelming this year, and they're probably going to be the basement of the AFC West.
Well, Herbert
Man.
had a great season last year. I mean, it was his rookie season. He wasn't even supposed to be starting, but a punctured lung will do that. So whatever happened to that guy?
Now
All
they're
right,
still,
Taylor.
Houston.
Yeah, he's in Houston.
Is he starting? Because no, Tyrod Taylor. Is that what you said? Yeah, no, he's hurt too, isn't he?
He just
Yeah.
got hurt. Yeah.
he's permanently hurt.
Dude, he had a good game that first week. I know they went against Jacksonville, whatever, but
He was doing good against.
he was, dude. He had
Cleveland.
like 300 and something yards or something like that in his.
And admittedly, though, Davis Mills was doing okay against Cleveland. I saw a little bit of that game because it was the noon game. And the Texans don't look like the dumpster fire yet that they were projected to be.
No, that first week,
time.
yeah, give it time. But that first
I know.
week, in my opinion, the dumpster fire of the AFC South was the fucking Titans.
Woo!
Dude.
That was bad.
All right, so we were talking before we came on. I went to the game. Cyrus went to the game. Now, Cyrus, for you, which I noticed right off the bat, Taylor Lewan looked like shit. He was about as fast as molasses coming out of a sippy straw.
So I've been to a few games at Nissan Stadium, and I've never seen the fan. And most of my time going to games for the Titans. There's not been a lot of fans there, at least in two-tone blue. This year's a bit of a difference. I've never seen an individual player get booed as bad as Taylor Lewan. At one point, he got hurt, or probably just said he got hurt. He was playing awful. He was a turnstile out there.
I mean, this is his first game back since his injury.
But at one point, the PA announcer said, "And coming back into the game, Taylor Lewan," and the crowd just let him have it.
Was that in the fourth quarter?
It was the third or fourth.
Well, because I left at the third quarter. That's how bad it was.
In the. My buddy's a season ticket holder, and he got his money's worth. We weren't leaving. Dear God.
Hey, no. I left, dude, because, I mean, my wife, she had to do homework and stuff when I had an excuse to leave. It was just terrible.
Lucky you.
Yeah, right?
That was something else.
Yeah.
But, man,
Did anybody else get that game? Miles, did you get that?
I didn't get it.
The Cardinals Titans?
Yeah.
No, I just watched. I have Red Zone. I watch Red Zone.
Oh, okay. Well,
So all you thought was the Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I saw some of the matchups after the game. The highlights and stuff, and the offensive line was a bit of a concern coming in just because of you kind of moved Dennis Kelly. I wasn't a big fan of him leaving, and then kind of have injuries with Lewan, and you're a little uncertain. You don't have anybody behind him. I think Tyler Sembrillo was the backup, and he's just not really a starting quality tight end. So he did really good this past week when they played Seattle, and they were able to pull it out. But at the same time, I mean, Tannehill's having to play differently than he has last year and year before. He's got to get the ball out quick. And when I was following the game this last week, he was getting the ball out, second and a half, right after the snap, a lot of slant plays and stuff. And it wasn't until later in the game, after they'd already established that they started really taking shots down the field. But, he's living a different life this year. And, I don't want Ryan Tannehill taking a lot of hits. That's where a lot of these turnovers are coming from. He's fumbling the ball. He's having to make quick decisions and really just throw it up and pray in a lot of situations because he's got somebody in his face. Chandler freaking Jones. What has he really done the last couple of years?
He went
nothing.
off.
Nothing. He has done nothing, and I believe he was hurt last year, or maybe he did the COVID option or option out thing. I don't know, but holy shit, dude, he had a hell of a game. I mean, it was like he was unblocked the entire time. Yeah, there you go. It was bad. It was great for the Cardinals, and dude, I gotta admit, I've talked a lot of shit and felt a lot of animosity towards the hype behind Kyler Murray. I was wrong. Kyler Murray's pretty good.
Kyler's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
He's looking good, but I see some parts of his game that are kind of. I mean, he's had some lucky plays and some blown coverages and stuff. I'd like to really get him in there with like a good defense and see how he's going to hold up this year and see how much he's grown, because I see a lot of these throws off his back foot. I mean, several times. And quarterbacks who do that, who they're like drifting back 10, 15 yards from the line of scrimmage and launch it up there, I mean, you are asking to get picked off. You're asking if the receiver hit. And he hasn't had the misfortune of that happening yet. But, I mean, these guys that kind of get into these ruts and routines and start to rely on that, I mean, you put him in there with like a Carolina defense or something and see how it goes, or a couple of these other up-and-coming defenses that have like a lot of star players. I don't think he's going to be able to get away with those type of things. But we'll see. I mean, he's been good for 2 games.
It'd be interesting.
The Cardinals' offense.
It'll be interesting to see them go up against San Francisco's defense.
Yeah, like that.
That right there is going to be a telltale.
Arizona runs something known as the air raid, and it was universally popularized in college by teams like Texas Tech and anything Mike Leach has coached. And Mike Leach has 0 national titles. There's no team with an air raid who runs an air raid wins in the end, because you'll score a lot of points. You'll blow out some really great football teams. But in the end, you can't win in December and January with it. You can't win close. Once the game gets close, the air raid becomes you start throwing picks in the fourth quarter. You start making mistakes because you're throwing the ball 70, 80, 90% of the time in some cases.
Right.
Yeah,
There's no run. Arizona doesn't have to run the ball.
And do they have the ability to? That's the question.
I don't think so. Kenyon Drake is a great receiving back.
He is, and I absolutely agree with that. And another thing is, the thing about Arizona's line is, that all right. So that first game that I watched, against the Titans, what I noticed about that offensive line is they didn't give Kyler Murray all the time that you would think. I know the score doesn't do. I wasn't too all right. So everybody talks shit on the Titans defense. You know what? I was not as disappointed in their defense in that game as I was the offense. That offense in the first half put them in shitty situations time and time again. I mean, you're not going to, and I'm sorry, but they held them to 2 or 3 field goals inside the red zone. I mean, after a while, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, what are you going to do against when your defense? You're not stopping most NFL teams when the ball is when it's 1st and 10 from the 20, when you're own 25, and that's where the drives are starting. You're not going to win a football. I don't care if you're playing Jacksonville or Kansas City.
No, if you're playing Jacksonville, you're probably going to win. So
the other thing about the Titans this year on defense. Yeah, the Titans on defense this year have a lot of new pieces. A lot of new faces like to the league. And they have like Jackrabbit Jenkins, which what a dumbass name. I mean, I'm sorry. I've never kind of liked him at all. And then for him to legally change his name to Jackrabbit just makes me not like him a lot more. But that aside.
Wait, that's his legal name?
That's his legal name.
Wow.
Which makes sense because he's got like 20 kids.
I still call him Janoris.
How many kids does he have? Is he up there with Screaming Jay Hawkins?
He's up there with like Cromartie and some other famous people that have kids in 4 different time zones. But anyway, yeah, a lot of new faces, so they haven't gelled together. Plus, new defensive coordinator. I think they got some guy that was sort of brought up in the ranks, not a named defensive coordinator this year.
Yeah,
Downing. Yeah, so there's gonna be some bumps and bruises.
Downing, the offensive coordinator.
Probably.
And Shane Bowen's the defensive coordinator, but they also brought back Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz is there, which is everybody talks shit about the beginning of the season because supposedly there's some friction between him and Mike Vrabel. And it was John Robinson's idea to bring in Jim Schwartz. Now, you got to think, if their defense starts going south, is Shane Bowen going to get taken off of his shit for Jim Schwartz?
Yep.
Coming down from the top, because Mike Vrabel is not going to do that. Mike Vrabel will not do that.
I mean, Mike Vrabel is running that defense.
Well, then he's fucking up then.
I know. I'm perfectly aware. But he ran the defense last year, and it looks basically the same. They're getting more pass.
They're getting better
rush.
Yeah, they're definitely getting more pressure on the quarterback. I'll absolutely give you that. And but nah, dude, I didn't have much problem with them. I think they're heading in the right direction. From last year, dude, they were dead last. I mean, where else are you gonna go?
They'll be better by the end of the year. The thing about Schwartz is he's a 4-3 guy, and we've got personnel to run a 3-4. I mean, Jim Schwartz all the way back to his last stint with the Titans, the Haynesworth days, and then he left and went to Detroit, and he had Ndamukong Suh, and then he went there, and I think he was with the Eagles, and they had a pretty decent 4-3 defense. Like 3-4 is not his thing. Bud Dupree's a 3-4 linebacker. And, we have some guys who can move around and be different, but a lot of times if you go from having a scheme in place for several years, like a 3-4 defense, like what we've had all the way back to the Wisenhunt days, and then you come in and change it, you're going to have some kind of shake and rattle in the ranks because some of these guys are switching positions. I watched a really cool thing about Nick Saban. I guess they did like a Football Life on him here recently, and I was watching part of that earlier today, just kind of in the background. And they had Jason Taylor on there. Jason Taylor he kind of made his bread and butter as a 3-4 linebacker and made it to the Hall of Fame. But he was a 4-3 before then. Nick Saban, when he took over the Dolphins, changed him up. And it took him like 2 years to really get it. And then his career just accelerated. So, that change can happen with a lot of guys, but it takes a little bit of time, even somebody of that level. And I think, you're seeing some of that with the Titans. Although with the Seahawks, I mean, they gave up, 30 points? But they were still outside of a couple of chunk plays, like a 60-yarder. It was like a 50-yarder on top of that. They were able to kind of keep them in the pocket. So, I mean, there's potential. They could get a lot better towards the end of the season. And I think that they're going to have to based on the schedule they've got in front of them. They got a lot of tough teams they're going to play.
Yeah. But they're playing the Colts this coming up week.
Yeah, that's not one of them.
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
The
Now,
Colts.
is Colts – yeah, no shit. Is Carson Wentz still hurt?
No, he's hurt. He's always hurt.
I know shit. No, he went down because of his ankle.
$1 million question.
No, it's not $1 million question. It's a fucking assumption. But
I think if Jacob Eason is starting,
he didn't practice today. I know he didn't practice today. I know he's got a sprained ankle. No, let me rephrase that. He practiced two. He has 2 sprained ankles.
Why not?
What?
Yeah,
this dude is made of glass.
Yeah. Nah, dude.
He belongs in soccer where they do the flop and grab like all their joints at one time. Ah!
Right.
This dude is like if Jake Locker decided not to retire. Good God.
Like Christopher Reeves running a marathon. I mean, the guy's just impossible, man.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad for him because like when he's fully healthy and has an offensive scheme around him, he's okay.
Dude, he was playing great.
That one year in Philadelphia, he was.
In that one game.
Yeah, in that one game. No, he was playing good. When he went down, they could have won that game, but Eason came in and they did not win it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. What I want to talk about is how shit Aaron Rodgers was in New Orleans. Wait, did they even play in New Orleans? Does anybody know? I mean, the game.
It was in Jacksonville, I think.
Was in Jacksonville?
Because they had to move over here.
I know the LSU.
Oh, yeah, it was in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, hurricanes.
Yeah, shit happens. But yeah, dude, Aaron Rodgers, holy shit. He got benched, or did he just say, nah, I'm good? What happened with that?
I think he benched himself.
Yeah.
He's Aaron Rodgers. He can do what he wants at this point. It's kind of weird. He's definitely on his last year of his contract. All this offseason stuff, you could tell was bugging him. And he looked like he didn't care against New Orleans. I saw some photos from that game. It was lackadaisical, I think is the proper word.
That sounds like a fun word.
I don't think he's an idiot. Like, I think that he has got some kind of motive behind what he's doing. Like, I feel like he understands his presence with the football team and the media and all of the above, and is smart enough to understand how to work it. And I think he went in there his first game and lost.
You think it was a purposefully?
I don't know, man, if it was purposefully at first, but I think it was definitely a fuck it. before it was over. If you know what I mean.
No,
I
know what you mean.
don't feel like he really, and I don't know that he went into it full hearted. I mean, I feel like he's wanting to really show his hand here and like play this game.
He is not bought in. He's like completely half in at all.
All right, so this past week he had a good game. They came back, but it was really just him and Aaron Rodgers that had the good game. Devontae Adams got some shit, but their other receivers got like dick for that game. Nothing. Yeah. It was all Aaron Rodgers was the star of that game, not Aaron Rodgers. Or excuse me,
Aaron Jones, you mean?
Aaron Jones was the star of that game, not Aaron Rodgers. Because even the passes that he made, they were pretty much just screen passes or really short checkdowns. And Aaron Jones just destroyed.
Too many errands.
Yeah, no shit. But
Ron.
But let's talk about Jameis Winston in that Green Bay game. Holy shit. Did anybody else think that, maybe he turned a corner? Because if you thought that after week 2, you sure as fuck didn't think that anymore.
I didn't think that before they picked him as the starter, and then I don't think that now. I think that Sean Payton is somewhat enamored with his ability. And, before we came on air, we talked about it a little bit, or I did. It's one of these things that where, he's got, all this talent and stuff. That's why he was number 1 overall pick. And sometimes these guys roll to other teams, and they really want to push him out there. I mean, there's plenty of quarterbacks just like this. Sam Bradford, number 1 pick. Jeff George back in the 90s, number 1 pick. These guys have a lot of ability, and people they want to be the guy behind the change, and they're willing to give them so much leash that they hang themselves. And Jameis Winston's going to want to be one of those guys. And that's because, he's got this 5,000-yard season. You have on paper, like, this is what he could be. Okay, we just need to get rid of the interceptions. It's just one little thing. Well, this guy is 6 years in now, and he's still making the same dumb mistake throws out there when he's under pressure. He pushes himself to do more than what he's capable of doing in the moment, and he will throw out. His instinct is to throw out all of his film critique, all of the practice, the learning the plays, the go through the reads. If somebody's in his face, it's fuck everything and just chuck the ball down the field.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
right. It works 50% of the time. That's why he has the same number of touchdowns and interceptions as last year in Tampa.
So, I'm having I can't remember who came out with Jameis Winston. Was it Andrew
Mariota?
Mariota, that's who it was. Okay, yeah. And
who was on IR after one play?
Mr.
He won one play in Las Vegas.
Carson Wentz Jr.
Yep.
He got a first down, and he's on IR because he's Marcus Mariota.
Hey, guys, cash out. See ya.
Right. I mean, it was a good game. I mean, he had a good play too. It was.
He's the world's nicest piece of glass. That is what Marcus Mariota is. He's the world's friendliest piece of glass.
That needs to be on
nice
the
guy.
Somewhere. That's good.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think, Winston's going to struggle. They'll go back to Taysom Hill, realize that they can't keep either of these guys and start over after this year. Because we have 2 quarterbacks that are that close in talent level. Because I think Hill's pretty good. But having benched him to start the season and you go back to him, there's always kind of this weird distrust thing. So I think New Orleans is going to float. They'll be a 500 team this year, even though you can't be 500 with 17 games anymore.
That's wrong.
Yeah, they could be – the way Carolina's playing, I mean, New Orleans could be bottom of that division real easy.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, all right, so they're in the same division as Atlanta, correct?
Okay, well, maybe not easily. So
Atlanta's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not looking good.
Yeah, I mean that's your neck of the woods, Mike. What's the word down there?
You keep putting it on me, man. I'm not a Falcons guy.
Well, I'm going to start putting Tampa Bay on fucking miles, so you might as well go ahead and take Atlanta.
Oh man, yeah, I forgot you're in Brady country, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually closer to Trevor Lawrence country.
Oh, really? Are you closer to Jacksonville, huh?
I'm like 30 minutes from Jacksonville.
I'll be damned. Shows you how much I know. I would still claim Tampa Bay, though. I mean,
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd rather be that than Jacksonville, actually.
Right? Yeah, I don't blame you, fucker. Anyways, so last
Falcons,
game.
Yeah, they're pissed.
Yeah. I didn't know if Arthur Smith was already turning things around down there or not. So last game of week 1, what?
I would say Arthur Smith. I've been following the Falcons this year just because I want to see how Arthur Smith's been doing. He might be fired after 2 years. It's not good.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so the last game of the first week was the Ravens at Las Vegas. And, man, let me tell you, that was one hell of a game. Derek Carr tore it up. 34 completions, 435 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception. He did get sacked 3 times. But he still had a better game than Lamar Jackson, who had 28 completions, 382 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he didn't have any interceptions. So what was a big winner there?
Vegas.
Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is between the two quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson's still the winner.
Oh wait, I was wrong about that. That's not the right stat. Sorry, that's what Derek Carr did against the Steelers in Week 2. That last one I read off. My apologies. So, anyways,
it doesn't matter what stats you read off. Right, you're telling me Lamar Jackson versus Derek Carr. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Really? I disagree.
Yes, all day, every day.
No.
Oh my God, you just want to stay loser forever, don't you?
Yep. I'm going to die on this hill. That I would not take.
Get ready. Let's go ahead and make services. Get together. Send out cards.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm looking up because, dude, Lamar Jackson is all they have. All right.
Make arrangements. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
No. That's not the conversation we're having. We're not having the conversation that Lamar Jackson's all Baltimore having. We're having the conversation that Lamar Jackson is better than Derek Carr.
You believe that? Everybody else believe in that too?
Yeah, I'd say for the one game, I'd say Derek Carr.
It's complicated.
But I don't think over the long haul. And look, Derek Carr is the last couple of years he's actually gotten better under Gruden. When Gruden got hired, I didn't see this coming. I figured he was going to middle around for 4 or 5 years, which he kind of has. But the one thing that he's actually managed to do is get Derek Carr to play better, or at least on par with his one good season that he had under Del Rio when they went to playoffs and he was injured. But I think Derek Carr is going to win some games. They're going to be a little bit dangerous towards the end of the year. They probably will get in the playoffs this year as a wild card because they've got a pretty good team around them. Lamar Jackson it's boom or bust, man, because everything's on him. That team, the way that the offense is set up, the way they're structured, the talent level, because even now with Sammy Watkins and Hollywood Brown, and they have like another receiver. I want to say like Willie Snead or somebody. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter because none of them catch the ball. And, they don't have the offense designed to be able to throw it down the field. And that's what's going to get them. This last week, they played the Chiefs, and they were able to pull that game out, but it was because Lamar Jackson did everything. And yes. I'm a firm believer in watching almost 40 years of football that you can't win long-term if you have one player doing all of it.
But you know what? Can't. His quarterback rating was 20 points lower in the Chiefs game versus the Raiders game. But here's the difference. He didn't fumble in the Chiefs game. He fumbled 3 times in the Raiders game and lost 2 of them. However, he did have 2 interceptions in the Chiefs game. In both games, he only completed 18 of his 26 passes in the Chiefs game and only 19 of his 30 passes in the Raiders game. How the fuck are you going to choose Lamar Jackson over Derek Carr?
Because Lamar Jackson is a superior football player to Derek Carr. Lamar Jackson, when you take away, listen, when you take away the team from Lamar Jackson's control, which Mike is displaying as a bad thing, then you will lose. But if you keep the team on Lamar Jackson's back the entire time and make you get the win, he will win. Now, however you want to weigh that out, whether it's long-term, short-term, it really doesn't fucking matter because it's all short-term. No, everybody wants to win this year. Next year, Lamar Jackson can be crippled and no one will give a fuck in the Baltimore Ravens because they'll look for somebody else to help them win the next year. So,
you're not wrong. You're absolutely right.
Right now, it's become so situational with things like that. I mean, look at the running backs, man. There's a shift here with things. Like the best running back this year will be the one who catches the most passes out of that backfield.
You talking about Baltimore or just out there?
No, just in NFL, period. Okay. I'm just saying there's a shift. You hear people talk about situational football. Now every game is situational football almost. And each year it gets more situational football. when you have these Lamar Jacksons and these Patrick Mahomes coming
All right,
up, and now you have this Josh Allen situation coming up where you've got these quarterbacks that just aren't traditional, and these teams that are willing to build around them instead of just throw them to the side and say, you can't do what I need you to do in my script.
See,
And it's working.
It's not working for Baltimore, though. It is not.
They've been to the fucking playoffs and the Super Bowl. Have they not? Or the playoffs the past few times? No, they've been to the playoffs and the championship.
Right. And how many playoff games have they won? One.
They beat us last year.
Yeah, and that was the only one they won.
And how many years has Lamar Jackson been quarterback?
This is what, his third or fourth year?
Third.
No, it's his fourth year.
Fourth year, but last year was 3.
He took over for
the year
Falco.
He went to the
He took over for Falco. Am I saying that right?
Jane Falco.
Yeah. Flacco, thank you. So he took over for him. Did they go to the playoffs that year?
No.
Yes, they did.
I don't think so. They did. Yeah.
They lost to the Los Angeles Chargers.
That was the MVP season.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Then they went his second year. Who did they lose to then? Oh, yeah, Kansas City. Mm-hmm. They went last year. They won against the Titans. I'll give you that. But who did they lose? No, they lost to the Titans the second year that he went. That's who they got beat by.
The MVP year, they ran into that unbelievable Derrick Henry run. And then the year after, they beat the Titans in Nashville after the offense collapsed. And then I forgot. I think they lost either Buffalo or Kansas City.
No, they lost to Kansas City. So he's this past week was the first time that he's beat Kansas City.
Do you hear yourself? How many playoff games has Derek Carr been in?
Yeah, you're right there.
0.
Yeah.
Okay.
He would have been the one, but he got hurt in week 16.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson is one of the most talented players that I can remember seeing.
Absolutely.
And he's so much he's so much fun to watch.
Yes, but he's not the best quarterback. We're talking about quarterbacks here. We're not talking about football players. We're talking about simply quarterbacks. Well, I would take Derek Carr quarterback ability over Lamar Jackson's.
This is where it's really difficult because it's hard to put those two in the same category because of the way Baltimore uses him and the way he plays the game versus a traditional quarterback, which is what Carr is. Derek Carr has a little mobility, but he's a pocket player. He moves things at the line of scrimmage and makes those calls. Lamar Jackson makes up stuff as he goes. He is a backyard, draw it up of the dirt player, and his physical ability sometimes can push him way over the top. And he does things that you watch it and you're like, oh my God, you just did that against grown men who are trained to take your head off. And he's able to dart around. One of the things that really impresses me about him is how he does most of his work in the middle of the field. Traditionally, you see scrambling quarterbacks work the edges, they roll out, they run, Russell Wilson all the way back to Mike Vick and Steve Young and all those. Like they would roll out and, kind of work around the sidelines. Vince Young ran out of bounds every single play that he ever ran past the line of scrimmage. But Jackson doesn't do that. He goes through the middle. And I think it confuses a lot of people because it's counter to what they normally see on film with other quarterbacks. And, it's just amazing to watch him. Derek Carr can do a lot of things and manage a game if, he has the team and talent around him like he has right now. Like they've got a pretty decent setup there in Vegas. My point really is just that, with Lamar Jackson long-term, you're not going to win any championships. It's really going to be difficult to win in the playoffs because at some point, the game comes down to him and he's going to come up short at some point. He's not going to be able to suddenly transition and depend on Hollywood Brown to be able to help carry a drive or who they even have now, Latavius Murray or some of these other guys. The Mark Edwards guy that I drafted in 2 fantasy leagues like a dumbass. These guys are not going to be come-through players. It's now completely down to one player. It's one-on-one NBA basketball with him where, Derek Carr, he's part of, a full team of people that can get it done. So it's difficult to say which one, per game I'd want to take. I don't think Jackson's ever going to bust through that second round of the playoffs. I just don't see it happening.
What's so interesting about Lamar Jackson is he is quite literally, and this is something interesting, he's the first quarterback of his type in the NFL. He's not Michael Vick. He's not Randy Cunningham because he can't throw. I'm going to be blunt with you. The kid can't throw. He can kind of throw, but no, he really can't. like he runs differently. He has a unique style of running, but there's no wrist flick. There's no good deep ball. He's better than Tebow.
I think Jackson can throw. I don't think he's confident enough to rely on his arm more than he does, and that's what's going to wind up being the Achilles for him.
And I think that's the difference. That's the difference between him and Kyler Murray.
He's in that weird spot between Tyrod Taylor and Michael Vick.
No, because I personally think that Lamar can throw the ball. I've seen him throw some deep balls. He's got an arm. He doesn't have the accuracy, but like Mike just said, he also doesn't have the confidence. And why should he? He has not had a receiver yet since he's been in Baltimore.
Sammy Watkins isn't a dud. I don't think anybody wants to play there. If you're a receiver, are you going to go to Baltimore?
Nope.
No. I mean, you're going to catch 30 balls a year. Like, what the fuck am I going to do there? That's a complete death trap.
It's like going to Georgia Tech if you're a college recruit. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, and that's the type of offense they run. They run like a Georgia Southern offense where they're going to run the ball and get 200-300 yards rushing in a game to beat you, which, and I'm not disputing the fact that
it's basically
that.
It's basically the Wildcat formation all the time. That's the kind of quarterback he is.
And that can win in a game. That can win, week in and week out against a lot of teams. I look down the road, I see where it falls short. When the chips are down.
I think that Lamar Jackson is a superior athlete to Derek Carr without a doubt. I'm not arguing that. My argument is that Derek Carr is a better quarterback in the sense of winning games and playing with the team. Lamar Jackson hasn't broke that. He hasn't got that in him yet. Whether he ever will, I don't know. He came into the league with a chip on his shoulder, and understandably, because everybody said that he couldn't be a quarterback.
My last thing I'll say on him, and this has been a big thing over the last couple of weeks, is that he is in the last year of his contract, his rookie deal. And other quarterbacks who were drafted in the same year as him already have other deals in place. Like you look at, I think Josh Allen came out the same year, and he's got this big mega contract. Who else? Was Mahomes the same year?
I think it was the year before, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was the year before. He sat his first year.
Right. Okay, that's right. That's what I was throwing out. But he's playing right now, basically in his last year, and he doesn't have an agent, and he's not really actively negotiating with the team. And I've read a lot of stuff saying, man, if that were me, if I were Lamar Jackson, I would not put myself on the line game in and game out the way he does, not having any guaranteed money beyond this year. Because, I mean, an injury for him could be catastrophic. You take away, a good step of his speed. If he gets a bad knee injury, he's going to lose millions of dollars. I mean, we're talking probably 8 figures before it's over.
Modern Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, though, I guess you really could use that comparison. I mean, Cam Newton is a little bit different player, but yeah, absolutely. Like the injuries
modern Cam Newton. He's not old. Yeah. Old school Cam Newton could also throw. But
Cam Newton's built differently. Yes, I know he's had a lot of injuries, but he could take a lot more. His body could take a lot more punishment than Lamar Jackson's.
Oh, he would get killed some days in Carolina.
I'm not saying that he wouldn't, but he still got back up.
And I know. That's what I need.
He needs an agent.
Let me ask you this, Adam Davis.
Okay.
You got a 2-minute drill to win the Super Bowl. Who do you want as your quarterback?
Fucking hell.
Derek Carr
between the two of them? Honestly,
behind door number 3?
Yeah, right. All right. So honestly, if I had to make that decision today, right now, it would be
Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, definitely not Trevor Lawrence.
Dude, Derek Carr has proven time and time again he's not a fucking winner, man. He may can throw the ball, but he's not a winner. Sorry.
I don't know.
I know you've got some obsession with him over this episode.
No, I'm just saying because nobody's talking about. No one's giving him any fucking credit. That's what my issue is.
He's a dark horse.
Okay. Fair enough. He's doing well.
He's doing great considering who else does he have besides the fucking tight end. He's done lost Brandon Jacobs too. He's done lost Brandon Jacobs, and he didn't have him for shit last year either.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be buried. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that are, basically name brands, and Derek Carr just never made it to that level. So as good as he's going to be, he's going to have to be lights out. He's going to have to be topping the league in some stat or stats to get the type of recognition, for how much he's improved, because there's so many better quarterbacks than him. But I mean, he's still good for that team. I think he's good. And to Miles' point, I mean, he's got to win something at some point.
You're right.
He's been around for 6, 7, 8 years, and he's never won a playoff game. He only really got a team to the playoffs once. He's got to do something.
You're right. All right, so let's
I think
move on
this
to
year's
week
his best
2.
chance.
Well, for Derek Carr, yeah, it's his best chance that he's had. I mean, I really do think that John Gruden has made such a difference to Derek Carr. I mean, they said that when they brought John Gruden in, that was kind of like the big reason of bringing him was his track record with quarterbacks.
He went into Pittsburgh and he knocked off the Steelers in their home opener.
Yep.
And that was a heck of a game, too.
No one saw that coming, and that was in week 2. But another game I want to talk about in week 2 that didn't get much play is the Thursday night football game between the Giants and the Washington football team. Holy shit, dude. That was exciting. That was a fun game to watch.
I don't
disagree.
Terry McLaurin went off.
What's that?
Terry McLaurin is the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. But, dude, last year, the Thursday night games, and it's been this way ever since they really started those games, was just shit usually. But, dude, this year so far, the first Thursday night game was, like I said, Dallas and Tampa Bay. And then this one right here, which, at work, we were all talking about before, the Thursday during the day, we were all talking about, oh, man, I really don't give a shit about this game. It's, who cares? But it turned out to be a great game. Oh, Heineke. And, dude, I'm sorry. We should take a moment of silence for Ryan Fitzpatrick for getting hurt. Whoever would have thought that he would have got hurt? I didn't think it. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not supposed to be able to get hurt.
Nope.
And he's an immortal being.
It's supposed to be.
Who will play forever.
But dude, old Heineke, man, he got over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but dude, hell yeah.
What a bargain for the football team to have that
After
guy.
That playoff game last year, he earned it.
He plays like a college kid, man. You know what I mean? He's got that fire in his ass.
He really does, man. He came from the XFL too, didn't he?
I believe he did.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe he did.
Wow.
He played in the XFL this last go around. And dude, he was fun to watch in the playoffs last year, dude. He played with such heart.
They said he gained like 15 pounds this year because he was a little bit too slight, to play long term. Right. But no, he looked good. The Giants actually, by all accounts, really should have won that game. They had a lot of chances that they just blew. Yeah. Unforced errors, but I think that's just what they're going to be for a little while. And Washington, I think they've got a lot to look good about. I mean, Gibson, the running back, looked really good. McLaurin looked amazing, like you said. And if Heineke can stay, we don't really know what he's going to look like over a series of games. I mean, there's some quarterbacks I've seen come in the last couple of years in spot duty, and they look good until they get on film enough for a team to scheme against them. And that's where the rubber's going to meet the road. He's going to play some tough defenses this year. But I'd like to see him do good. I really like his style of play.
Now, I will say, I was talking to my brother before the season started, and that's his pick for the dark horse of the team that's going to make the most noise that no one's expecting was the Washington football team. I don't know.
This year or last year?
No, this year. This year right now.
I think they can make it to the second round.
I know, right? Yeah. That's why I said to him, too. I was like, dude, they made it to the playoffs last year. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, but – they got the new quarterback now, which, it was Ryan Fitzpatrick at the time. But, we also saw that
the defense will help them out, man.
Dude, I love their
take down the Cowboys. They're not going to get anywhere if they don't get past Dallas.
It's true.
So
those
Dallas
will be fine.
So, they're all they all got the same record right now besides the Giants are 0-2, which, like Mike said, they really should have won that game. But, so... Is anybody even talking about the Patriots? Does anyone give a shit? Because I don't. All right,
we'll see in November if they're still keeping this momentum with Mac Jones and everything. But
they're 1-1. They lost their.
We'll see how they do against Buffalo.
They beat the Jets, man. They beat the Jets.
And Bill Belichick versus a rookie quarterback is the easiest bet in professional sports.
Well, he's got a rookie back himself, so
I know, but Bill Belichick scheming against a rookie, it's kind of it's horrifying sometimes to see what he does.
He threw 4 interceptions, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Ouch. Yeah.
The only reason he didn't get pulled is because they don't have anybody behind him, so he just had to stand there and take it.
Yep.
That's rough.
That is. So
make a man out of you.
Yeah, well, make something out of you.
He got Belichick.
Yes.
But so the the Bills sprung back over the Dolphins with a 35-0 win over them. I'm surprised they lost their first game.
Wow.
Man. I really was.
And Tua is hurt in Miami.
Yeah, he got carted off, didn't he?
I believe he did. Yeah, they're
his ribs.
So much for that 10-6 momentum from last year in Miami. They might fall off a cliff completely down there.
I mean, who's their backup?
Jacoby Brissett.
For fuck's sake. They're screwed down there. But I mean,
he's good enough to win some games. I don't know that they're going to win a lot.
Is he?
I mean, he's a quintessential backup quarterback, a guy that you don't want to start for you, but he can come in and play some games. If it's rib injuries, he could probably. I mean, Tua could come back. I mean, it depends on how bad it is, but what do you think? Like the worst rib injuries I've heard are like 4 weeks, and a lot of times guys come back earlier depending on pain tolerance. You know, if they're really into Toradol, man, he might be back next week.
The offensive line is one of the worst in football, though. Like Buffalo was just getting pressure on like 3-man rushes.
Mm.
That O-line in Miami is bad.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. There's no denying that. But it's Buffalo. I mean, you know, all right. So the difference between those two games was obviously Miami's defense is nothing like Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh also had T.J. Watt in, and he's a constant disruption to your offense, whether he makes the play or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah. So all right, so that's what the Bills did. They ended up coming back, and the 49ers are a 2-0 team. Old Jimmy Garoppolo's pulling it out. They won over the Eagles in week 2. All right, so here's another game that was actually interesting to watch. Well, at least the end of it was until the glass figurine that was throwing the football got hurt. Was the Rams and the Colts? Dude, the Colts had it until Carson Wentz went down. He was having a decent game, man. He really was.
Shout out to the Rams special teams for presenting the dumbest play I've ever seen in that game. When on a punt, they hiked the long snapper they were in some weird effed up punt formation. The long snapper has to do like a diagonal snap. He hits the punter's wrist, and Indianapolis. This is in their own end zone, by the way. So Indy falls on the ball and scores on a long snapper error. It was pretty funny. I enjoyed it a lot.
So Carson Wentz's stats for this last game was 31 attempts, 20 completions, 247 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception. And then Jacob Easton's stats were 2 completions of 5 attempts, 25 yards, and an interception, and that's how the game ended. So I'm guessing when Carson Wentz got hurt, he was on a run, was it not?
Yes,
I believe it was. I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it was on a walk to the field.
Yeah. It was at their warm-ups, which is the same. It was, dude. Yeah. It is,
I
dude.
don't know. It's sad, but I mean, come on.
Michael Pittman had a good game. He had 127 yards receiving.
Wow.
I'm more excited about the Rams. I think the Rams are going to be
deep
in the playoffs, man.
Good for Matt Stafford, dude. Good for Matt Stafford.
Yes.
All of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of that. Man, they looked really good against Chicago. I mean, really just since,
Chicago's got a hell of a defense, dude.
Yeah,
Chicago's defense is legit.
They punished
Stafford,
him.
man. If you give Stafford some weapons, man, he's going to shine. I said this last year. I said this, and we all said, and Mike, you brought up some good points. He said the only time Stafford, he's never had anybody who really, but it's garbage time, and you're right. But it doesn't mean he doesn't have talent. I think he's going to.
I'm blown away, man. He's doing so much better than I thought he would, and I think it's a combination of him with McVay, and the type of offense he's in. Let's just be real. Detroit it murders more careers. I mean, everybody that goes there with any level of talent, They may do okay for a game or a season. Exactly. It's not coming back. You just ruins everybody. Barry Sanders doesn't talk to him anymore. Calvin Johnson doesn't talk to him anymore. Everybody hates that fucking place.
Yeah.
So maybe the fact of him going to the
fire.
Rams, yeah, he should have probably left years ago. I'm very happy for him.
I am too, dude.
Stafford's great.
He is, dude.
He's always been great too.
He's always
over
been
the
good.
last 6 years, he leads the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks.
No
and
shit,
people
over
don't
I did not know
realize.
that.
over Tom
Yeah.
Brady.
Yeah, bro. Brady hasn't had the Patriots had the lead a lot, guys.
Well,
He doesn't have
They
to do
would-
it that much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brady's great at it, but they don't have to do it very often, especially when they were dominant in New England there for a while. But
Wow, I'd have lost
yeah,
that one 10 times out of 10.
Mhm.
Matt Stafford is an elite quarterback who was not only overshadowed in his division by Aaron Rodgers for a long time. He also, was in Detroit, and people also overrated him because he's just got Calvin catching the ball, or he's got a Golden Tate catching the ball. He's had some decent receiving
Fuck.
talent over in
did
Detroit.
you just mention Golden Tate?
Not
He had
against
a
Calvin
couple
Johnson. Come on.
Not against Calvin Thompson, but Golden Tate had a couple decent years there.
Yes.
So did MJJ, and they had some talent. It's Detroit, man.
I mean, so what's the deal in Detroit? Why do they always suck?
Their ownership is bad. They don't know how to hire management. They fired their winningest coach of the last 15 years over a 9-7 season. Like they're better than that or something.
They all have to
Yep.
live in Detroit, Michigan.
Well, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
no
I was-
fun.
That's a major negative.
That's
Yeah.
a no-go for me.
People are like, why are the Browns and Lions usually so bad? Would you want to live in Cleveland or Detroit? I would.
Exactly. Or for Cincinnati, too.
Yeah,
Or
no,
Jacksonville.
Cincinnati.
Hey, watch out now.
No, Jacksonville's actually nice. Cincinnati's a fucking dude. I'm not kidding. The first time we did a show, I did a show up in Cincinnati, and I'm not shitting you, dude. There was tumbleweeds. This is Cincinnati. Why does it have tumbleweeds? We literally saw tumbleweeds in this. As soon as you get into Cincinnati, it's just immediately you feel like you're in a fucking landfill.
It's
As soon as
it's
you
one of the
get there,
few
dude.
places out of state I've actually been. I've been to the amusement park over there in Cincinnati. It's okay, the amusement park, but yeah, the rest of it's man, it's always really cloudy there and kind
Dude,
of
look,
snap.
So that first show we played, we go there, and the first thing, the bar owner's like, "Hey, man, I got some stuff right here." He was huffing VCR cleaner, and dude,
What was the name of the place?
Yeah, exactly. I don't, I know I'm kind of older, but dude, when we played this show, DVDs were actually a thing, not VCRs. So where the fuck would you get VCR head cleaner when there's no
I've played there.
VCRs? I'm sure
I
you
know who you're
have.
talking about.
It was right across the street where Slayer was playing, which was funny enough. But yeah, dude, it was. Yeah,
We I remember back in the day we played a show there, and it was all kinds of weird. I mean, we played some weird shows. This is a weird one. And then I remember that guy just kind of freaking me out. He had this really overall kind of dark, fucked up vibe. And then we had another show booked, and that's we kind of started to come apart at the seams. We canceled. So I called him. I was like, "Yeah, I don't have a band, so can't play." He's like, "Well, you need to figure out something. I've got you on a bill." And I'm like, "What do you want me to just come up there and do acoustic? Drive 4 hours to Cincinnati so I don't hurt your feelings?" I was like, "I'm not coming up there, man." He just came through the phone at me. I
Wow.
don't have a band. My fucking band broke up. That's funny. But a lot of the same places, truth be told, when you guys would go and I would see your stickers on the wall and stuff, usually you guys were wherever we played a month before we got there. I know we're completely off the track now, but there's this other place in Jackson, Tennessee. And I think we played there twice, and both times it was right after you guys were there, the weekend before us.
that's
It was
hilarious.
really kind of weird. We had this Metallica Megadeth kind of thing going on for a while.
Oh dear.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals actually pulled off their victory against the Vikings, who are also 0-2. But dude, the Vikings, I thought they were going to be able to pull it out. Delvin Cook had a damn good game, but there again, Kyler Murray, he pulled it out. Dude, him and Anthony Hopkins, man, I'm telling you, that's probably the best quarterback receiver duo going right now. I can't think of anybody better.
Yeah, him and DeAndre Hopkins are phenomenal. Through the Nuke is probably I have him on my fantasy team, and it's worked great. I'm glad he's out of the AFC South and not in Houston anymore.
Yeah,
That's for sure. And
that's
Minnesota,
damn sure.
might be the best 0. This is faint praise, I guess, but they are the best 0-2 team in football. Minnesota is.
I don't know if they are because the Giants, they're also 0-2.
They're pretty talented as well and have lost a couple great close games.
They really have.
Minnesota they'll come around. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. They play in a stacked division with the Bears with their great defense, and the Packers will show up eventually.
Detroit. Now, I think Detroit I think they're better than what their record reflects. These games have been close. Well, no, they haven't. The first
their
half
head coaches, they have the talent, but I think they've hired a fraud head coach.
Yeah, they've fired, like I said, the end of last year or sometime at some point. He is the Walmart coach. Dude. If Madison Walmart was a coach, it's that guy.
He's off-brand Mike Campbell and
Dan
Detroit.
Campbell.
He is off-brand Mike Rabel.
Oh, kneecaps.
Yeah,
he's Dollar Tree Mike Rabel.
Yeah.
Man, if this were a coach, it would be Dan Campbell. It's going to come down real bad towards the end of the year. Yeah. Bless his heart, man. I liked him as a player.
He's a fraud.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah. So I heard some shit that was wrote up in Seattle on Monday. I'm not doing this verbatim. I'm just paraphrasing, so I'm sure going to murder it anyways. But the writer up there was like, Seattle Seahawks choked on this game. Tennessee Titans did not win this game. The Seattle Seahawks acted in I'm already fucking it up. What he said was that it was an act of charity for the Seahawks to give the game to the Titans.
No, that's incorrect.
Let me hear your thoughts on this. I don't care. I don't care who talks first. Miles, go for it.
I stayed quiet during the earlier Titans conversation, so I'm gonna stick my head up here.
Yeah, please.
If you look back at the box score of this game, I mean, this first game with the Titans to this game that we're talking about now, it's so 180 degrees. I mean, I think Henry had under 20 carries the first time. This last one, I think he had 30 something. If you don't give Derrick Henry the ball 24 times or 25 times or more, you will lose the game. That's the way I felt about the Titans since a couple years ago, and I still feel that same way today. And I think you got to do that. And I think that that doesn't matter if you're behind or not. You can't go to this passing game if you're behind. You still have to trust in Derrick Henry. That's the way I feel. Now, as far as them giving the Seattle giving the game to them, that's just ludicrous. There's no NFL team is going to be that close and that tight and say, "Here, you have the game." This is just insane. This is silly. Who says things like this?
The writer up in Seattle does very
beat writers try to blow smoke, man, just to get out there because they cover the teams all the time, and then like Paul Kowarski. You guys ever read some of his shit?
It's a waste. It's a waste of time.
He gets so angry midget about everything just to get attention because otherwise he's not going to get it. I think I agree with you, Miles. This year more than the last couple of years, they got to stick with the run because they don't have the O-line to really protect the passing game. And, that's where the rubber meets the road, man. Derrick Henry still got at least this year left in him of being an elite back. And, to try to roll it to the passing game with the guys you have up front right now, even if you have Julio Jones, which, by the way, he played really good last week.
He had over 100 yards, dude. He played a really damn good game.
They're going to have to use the passing game as a compliment, at least until they get some cohesiveness with this O-line and realize that Tannehill is not going to be under fire every play because the more they pass it, the more people can, start to blitz more. They get more confident, and it's going to take them out of their game.
And see, that's what they lacked on that first game. They had no passing game. A.J. Brown does not look anything like he did last year. I know he's got the knee thing going on right now. Didn't he have a knee surgery? I want to say he had knee surgery.
In the offseason.
Yeah.
No excuse for all the drops against Seattle. Big grief.
I mean, obviously it is an excuse, dude, because, something's not right with him. I know he's, the knees, I don't know, dude. Something ain't right with him. He's definitely not. It may be a slow start, and he usually does have a slow start. But I don't know, man. I was impressed by them. All right, so they come out of the first half 24-9. Now, am I correct? I think I'm correct about that.
It was 24-9, Seattle.
Yeah. And all right, so please tell me that y'all saw. All right, so it ends up going to overtime. And dude, Russell Wilson got tackled in the fucking end zone.
Yeah,
That was a
I used to
safety.
call that a safety.
Dude, that was the most bullshit call. They did not call the safety. They gave him forward progress at the 1 yard line, which he just took off at the 1 yard line, ran backwards. Dude got to him in the end zone, spun him around, and then he just throws the ball, which was intentional grounding. If it wasn't a safety as far as tackling goes, it was a safety because he fucking threw the ball and it was intentional grounding. Did y'all please tell me y'all saw this play?
I saw it. And you know what happened? The referee's earpiece went off. He got a little tick from New York, the headquarters, and was like, "Don't you dare end this football game on that." And the NFL headquarters said, "If this happens, you're fired or something," because that was a safety. It was at least an intentional grounding, which would have been ruled in a safety. It was a safety, and they did not want to end the game on that.
Bullshit.
They
didn't fighting to win.
Well, yeah, I mean, Julio Jones, the ice maker in someone's house is going on.
Yes, I'm going to mute that right now.
But Julio Jones also had a touchdown taken away, which Drew, my little brother, spent like an hour looking at this. Is like he's in. He sent it to 6 different people because it was a touchdown that Julio Jones catch in the second half. I mean, the first half. He caught the ball with his feet. There's green in between his blue.
Yeah, the refs were terrible.
The refs were bad against Tennessee this week. But, I mean, the team showed up in the second half after a bad half. I mean, 2 halves and a half worth of football. A game and a half worth of football for the Titans. They finally showed up. And you know what the difference was? They finally ran play action. There was no play action against the Cardinals, and you have to set up play action.
Wait. There was play action with the Cardinals. The problem was they didn't have a passing game. They were able to at least move the ball through the air in this game against the Seattle Seahawks, at least in the second half. And think about it, the play action didn't start working until the second half. There's no way they were going to bite on play action in the second half of that Arizona game. It was way too far of a deficit.
Well, they should have been running play action literally on – you should run play action on 1st and 10 on your first play of the drive if you have Derrick Henry, because the box is going to be stacked 8-9 deep. I mean, they're ready for Derrick Henry at this point. They're going to follow Baltimore's template from last year's playoff game or Kansas City's template from 2 years ago. Teams have figured out how to stop Derrick Henry a little bit. They figured out it's possible at the very least.
I'll give you that, but here's the thing that no one's taking in account for this year is that he's starting to catch the ball.
Ooh, yes, he is.
He is starting to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. Not just screen passes. He's getting, at least 5. Why are you shaking your head, Mike?
I've never understood why they stopped throwing him the ball. The first couple of years that they had him as a starter, they were putting him in the passing game, and he was getting large chunk plays. And then last year, they didn't throw it to Derrick Henry at all. And
because those couple of years there, Marcus Mariota only knew how to throw it to Delaney Walker.
Yeah, but I mean, even like I said last year, with Tannehill full 16 games, they never really featured Henry at all. And I always thought that was a good way to get the pass rush to slow down. I mean, if you have the threat of Derrick Henry on a screenplay, I mean, all the guy really needs is a block from someone close to him, and then he's almost a blocker of it on his own. Yeah, and he's got a history of long plays, and that's why it's just he's not just a regular Austin Eckler type check down back, that's going to catch 5 to 7 to 10 passes a game and go 5 to 10 yards. I mean, he's a guy that he's either going to go 2-3 yards or he's going to go 20, or really break off a big one. I don't know. I think it's good that they're starting to feature that again. I just don't know why they ever went away from it in the first place.
No, you make a good point there. So, how do you think they're going to fare against the Colts at home today? I mean, this week.
Kick their ass.
You think so?
Yep.
No doubt in your mind.
I won't let doubt. I hate the Colts.
I'm with you on there. I know Miles is a big Colts fan, but
Colts.
I used to be.
I think they genuinely will actually I think they will, depending on who the quarterback is, neither one of them are that mobile. The pass rush is actually going to have a good game this week. They might have 3 or 4 sacks. And then
I'll give you that.
it's good. Indianapolis's defense is really good. I say Tennessee wins 21-7. It's in that range.
Yeah, I don't ever
21-10.
pick. I don't ever pick the score. I'm just like, yeah, they'll win or they won't.
In a range,
I
it's
can't
going to
do
be a
that.
2-touchdown, 3-touchdown type deal. But Indy's defense will play well.
Because I mean,
45-0.
I hope so.
Here's the thing about the
59-0.
They're not able to run the ball this year. I'm not
Shut your
seeing
mouth.
much of a running game out of them right now. And is it because their offensive line is shit?
More like injured, but yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's shit.
Is that what's happening? They got a lot of injuries. I don't keep up with the Colts because I have a penis. So, but
I don't keep them as much as I used to. I was a Tony Dungy years fan.
I know you were.
Marvin
Yeah, I was
Harrison.
going to say you were more of a Peyton Manning fan, weren't you?
Mhm.
Here's something I wanted to tell you, Miles. All right, so you know how Edgar and James is in the? Did you know he's in the Hall of Fame?
Yes,
Recently.
because he was ridiculous when he first came out.
Really?
He was unstoppable.
Do you know what else? You know what he does not have?
A Super Bowl ring?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew
Was
that.
he not on that 06 team?
No, he was. I thought he was. But it was Joseph Adai was on that team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Adai.
Joseph Adai. Wow.
Yes. I didn't. I was not aware of that until this past week, and which kind of surprised me. So, all right.
Question your football knowledge. That's what it's like when you have a penis, I guess.
I
You
guess
don't know
so.
anything.
Yep. That's right. That's right. That's the curse of the male gene.
Me and my vagina over here, as smart as we can be.
Probably Bill.
Yeah.
I'm being paged from downstairs, so I'm going to have to fly off. I
Yeah,
apologize.
man. Let's wrap it up
All
in
right.
an hour.
It-
You
it's
guys
working
we got to
out
do
now.
a track. We got to do a little set down next time, like we had for last week, because we get off track too easily.
Yeah, we got a little off track, but
We talked about the Titans about every 15 minutes.
well, I mean, we're Titans fans. All right. Well, cool guys. We'll pick
All
it
right.
back up again next week.
I'm a Colts fan.
We'll see y'all later. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you.
That was fun.